Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. In this one, I'll be going over the remaining starts and sits for Week 9. So I covered the first 7 games of the week in part 1 of this video. The final 8 games will be covered in this one. Recording this one a day later, just thought I'd have an extra day of practice reports and all that to go off of. But we've got 8 games to get into here, a lot of fun start-sit questions to go over. And then, of course, if you guys do have anything specific to ask me, just let me know in the comments below. I love helping you guys out there, getting you guys whatever answers I can do to help you guys get set up for the week. So, yeah. It should be a lot of fun. I'm recording this at halftime of the Thursday night game. Looks like it's a kind of fun game. Its score is not very fun, 7-0, but two teams that kind of need it. So we've seen worse games on Thursday. But yeah, that being said, let's get into it here. Starting things off, we have the Raiders at the Bengals. For the Raiders, Brock Bowers needs to be in lineups for sure. He's just hyper targeted. You're playing him for sure. Jacoby Myers, he's a solid flex option as well if you need it. I don't think you need to go there, but like in full PPR, I think he's a solid play. He does give a lot more stability to that Raiders offense. You can play him if you need to. Alexander Mattison for the Raiders, he'd be a desperation running back play. Kind of what he is every week. You're praying he scores a touchdown. He's not very good. The offense isn't very good. He doesn't catch enough passes to really trust him there, but if you need to play Mattison, you can. For the Bengals, you're playing Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. That's assuming this is assuming T. Higgins plays. He did not practice either on Thursday, so we'll see what happens there. If inactive, I think you're still playing Jamar Chase. It would make Mike Gesicki an interesting tight end stream just because he's clearly very involved when Higgins is inactive. And then Chase Brown, really solid start this week. The Raiders are not a defense that scares me. Chase Brown's been involved. He's a good enough player. I think Chase Brown would be in my lineups for sure. But nobody else. Like I said, Mike Gesicki is a streaming option if you need it. If Higgins is out, Yoshi Voss is like a desperation play. But otherwise, it's just like the usuals there for the Bengals. Next, we got the Broncos at the Ravens. For the Broncos, Bo Nix, he's a legit streaming option here. I had one league, I had to pick between him and CJ Stroud. I went Bo Nix, feeling pretty good about that at halftime of this game, but I think Nix is a guy you can play. Javonte, a low-end running back 2 option. Like, you're hoping he scores a touchdown. Wasn't great last week. We kind of thought it would be, but it didn't turn out being very good. He's still a lead back in that offense, and you can score on Baltimore, so I think Javonte's a decent, like, low-end option, but I don't love it. Cortland Sutton for the Broncos. He's a low-end wide receiver 3. Bounced back last week after goosing in the week before. He is the wide receiver 1 for this team. There's a lot of trade rumors circulating about him too, so we could see him get moved. Maybe they want to show him off one more time before he gets traded. I think Sutton's a low-end wide receiver 3 if you need him. Beyond that, though, like you could maybe get desperate and look at guys like Vele or Franklin. I don't want to, but it is a really plus matchup here against the Ravens, so there will probably be at least one other player on that offense do something. For the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, their auto starts. Not a lot to talk about there. Keep an eye on Lamar, though. He has missed 2 practices so far this week. I'd be shocked if he misses the game, but we'll see what happens there. Just keep an eye on it. I still think you're playing Lamar regardless if he's active. I don't blame you if you want to sit every other Raven, though. Like, Zay Flowers, he's a wide receiver 3 for me. They did trade for Deontay Johnson midweek, which makes him like a low-end flex play here. Just tough. Week 1, the Broncos are a tough matchup. Not sure who Surtain's going to cover. I doubt he'll really cover or shadow either one of Flowers or Deontay. They're very similar tier of players there, but it's just tough. Like, Zay Flowers obviously takes a hit with Deontay being there. Deontay going there, he's now the 2 or maybe 3 in the offense there with Mark Andrews. So it's just tough. Like Mark Andrews, he's a fringe tight end 1 because he's got a lot of touchdown upside, so I think you're playing him. Really good matchup against the Broncos. Actually, they're not good against tight ends. They're good against opposing wide receivers, but tight end is where they struggle. So I think you can play Andrews, and Flowers and Deontay are both just like low-end flex plays, wide receiver 3s if you need them. Next, we've got the Bears at the Cardinals. For the Bears, DeAndre Swift needs to be in lineups. He's been fantastic over the last month. You're playing him every single week right now. DJ Moore, he's a wide receiver 3. He's a clear wide receiver 1 in Chicago, but like Chicago showed they have a really low floor on offense last week, so it's tough to go there, but I still think you're playing him just because of the weekly upside. And then Cole Kmet, a low-end tight end 1. Very few tight ends have the upside that he does. We've seen it a couple times this year. I think you can play Kmet in what should be a good matchup against the Cardinals. But I wouldn't want to play any other Bear. Like Caleb Williams, I don't want to stream him after last week. Keenan Allen, he's not involved enough. Rome Odunze, he's not involved enough. I think it's just, Swift, Kmet, and Moore, and nobody else for the Bears. For the Cardinals, it's a tough matchup against this Bears pass defense. They're absolutely fantastic. So that being said, Kyler Murray is still a low-end QB1 for me. James Conner, he'd be in lineups for sure. He's just been too good. I believe he is first in the NFL in forced missed tackles with 47. Second in the NFL is 29 total missed tackles. So James Conner has been on another world so far this season. He's fantastic. You're playing him. Trey McBride, a must start. I don't expect a huge game here. Like I said, the Bears are a really good pass defense, so I don't expect McBride to go out there for 102 touchdowns, but he's such a good player. You're playing him. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., he's a low-end wide receiver too. The matchup sucks, so I think after this week, we'll see Marvin Harrison really sort of take off. If he goes out there and balls out this week, it would mean to me that he's officially turned to that corner. So I think you can play Harrison, but I could see a world where maybe you've got better options. But even still, like, he's a low-end wide receiver too. You're probably starting him. Just know that he's not like an auto start this week. Next, we got the Jaguars at the Eagles. For the Jaguars, I think Evan Ingram might be the only Jaguar that I want to play. Brian Thomas Jr. been limited so far this week with a chest injury. I would play him if he's active, but it's really tough because there is obviously the risk of him potentially leaving the game mid-game. That being said, he's been so good, you're playing him. But I don't really want to play any of the other wide receivers regardless. Like, even if he's inactive, I don't want to look at Gabe Davis. I don't want to play Parker Washington. It's just, I don't want to go there. So for me, it's Brian Thomas Jr. or nothing at the Jaguars, but wide receiver position there. For the running backs, I think Travis Etienne's going to suit up here, and I think that makes me want to not play any of them. Like, we're going to see Etienne and Bigsby. Just really gross. Like, it's not a game where I expect the Jaguars to go out there and put up a ton of points now that they're missing so many options on offense. I think you're probably looking at Etienne over Tank Bigsby if you need to, because the pass catching should be there. This should be a game where they're trailing, so Etienne could put up a decent performance, but I don't love it. I think that it's okay to bench both those guys and see how that shakes out with the Etienne back. For the Eagles, it's easy every week. Hurts, Saquon, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith. Must starts. You're playing them every single week. Really great matchup this week. You could see all of those guys go nuclear. Then Dallas Goedert, a low-end tight end one option. Like, I think I would look elsewhere. I think you can do better. Like, I'd play Cade Otton over him. Zach Ertz is like a similar tier. There's a lot of streaming options that I think I'd prefer over Dallas Goedert. So I think I'd look elsewhere if I can, but I get it if you need to play Goddard this week. Next up, we got the Rams at the Seahawks. For the Rams, Kyren, Puka, and Kupp, they're all going to be must-starts. Just keep an eye on it. Puka did aggravate his knee injury just a little bit on Thursday today. Sounds like he's going to be okay, but just keep an eye on that. That's obviously a little bit concerning. Assuming all those guys play, I think Stafford's a really great streaming option as well. I picked him up to play in this big matchup in one of my leagues. I'm playing him over Jordan Love, even if Jordan Love plays, so keep that in mind there. Geno Smith, decent stream if DK Metcalf is active. If DK is inactive, I wouldn't want to play Geno. Kenneth Walker, he's a must-start. I would be starting DK if he plays in this one. And then I'm probably going to sit every other Seahawk. Lockett and JSN are low-end flex options. They get a little bit of a bump if DK misses the game, but it just doesn't feel like either one of those guys has any ceiling. I know Lockett has historically just torched the Rams, so I think Lockett's got an opportunity there, but JSN's been involved enough. Bobo gets involved. I don't know. I just don't really want to trust either one of those guys with or without DK in the lineup if I can. Next, we got what might be the game of the week here. We got the Lions going to Green Bay to play the Packers. The Lions, they've been a unit right now. You're going to play every single Lion. You're playing Gibbs, Monty, Amon-Ra, even Laporta this week should be an auto start. He got a ton of volume last week. Without Jameson Williams in the field, I think Laporta is going to be useful this week. And then Jared Goff, solid streaming option as well. He did roll his ankle earlier this week. I still think he's going to play. He doesn't need his ankles, really. He's not a very mobile guy anyway, so I think he's fine, but just keep an eye on that. For the Packers, Josh Jacobs, he's a must-start every single week. I know it's a tough matchup against this really great front seven for the Lions, but I still think you're playing Josh Jacobs, obviously. The rest of the things, though, are really Jordan Love dependent. If Jordan Love plays, makes Jaden Reed like a wide receiver 2 for me. Romeo Doubs, like a decent flex option. And then Tucker Kraft, probably a guy that I'm looking to get in lineups. But if he's inactive, Jaden Reed, everyone just takes a hit there. Jaden Reed becomes a guy who's like more of a flex option. Romeo Doubs, an even lower end flex option. And then Tucker Kraft, just like a desperation play at the tight end position. You're praying for a touchdown there. I wouldn't expect that to happen with Malik Willis out there. But and I'm probably not playing Jordan Love either way. I could see a world where you need to, but he didn't look very great last week, even while he was playing with the injury. So I'd prefer to look elsewhere this week if I can. Then we got a really fun game here between the Colts and the Vikings. Downs and Pittman are really solid flex plays this week now that we get Joe Flacco. I think Josh Downs is going to be a really solid like low-end wide receiver 2 the rest of the way. Jonathan Taylor, he needs to be in lineups. Now they can catch some passes too. That's great for him. I think he's definitely a must-start. I mean, if you want to, I think you can get a little risky here and play Joe Flacco. Like, the Vikings are a pass funnel defense. Joe Flacco will probably go out there and throw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. That's pretty good for a streaming quarterback, so I like him there. Sam Darnold, really great streaming option this week. The Colts are not a good pass defense at all. Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson, both those guys need to be in your lineups for sure. But then I'd probably be sitting Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. Just keep an eye out on what happens there. Addison was upset about his role in the offense last week. Maybe it's a squeaky wheel thing, but TJ Hawkinson's going to come in. They said he won't be limited, so if you want to play him, you can. If he's on a full snap share, we know he's a talented player. This is an offense that's performing well. You can play Hawkinson. I just don't think you need to. But Addison, I just don't want to trust it. Should be worse now that Hawkinson's back, and obviously he hasn't been all that great so far anyway. And last, we get a fun Monday Night Football game between the Bucs and the Chiefs. For the Bucs, Baker's a low-end streaming option here. The Chiefs' defense has been fantastic, and it feels like at some point Baker's got to stop performing at a super high level for fantasy. He lost all his weapons and was still really good for fantasy last week. The Chiefs' defense is a different animal than the Falcons' defense, but I still think you can stream Baker. I just know that I do sort of expect this to be a down week for the Bucs offense. Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, both of them are low-end running back 2s for me with a boost in full PPR. This should be a game where the Buccaneers are trailing. They'll both catch passes. I think you can play both of them. I would sit all of the wide receivers in this game, or for the Bucs, including Jalen McMillan. Just none of them established themselves enough for me to trust them. And then Cade Otton, super involved. You're playing him for sure this week. For the Chiefs, Mahomes, he's a low-end quarterback 1. Believe it or not, I would play Baker over him, so I don't think I'd be looking to play Mahomes in this matchup. Kareem Hunt should be in lineups. He's a guy that's just getting it done every single week. I think you're playing him. Travis Kelce, you got to start him as well. And then DeAndre Hopkins, a low-end flex play. I'd prefer not to play him. I want to see him go out there and be useful for fantasy before I trust him. But if you're desperate, if you're really trying to catch lightning in a bottle there, I get it why if you might want to play him this week. That'll do it for this week's 9 starts and sits. Up next, I'll go live Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, 1 hour before the games go live. I'll just go over the latest injury updates, answer your start-sit questions, and get you guys all set to win in week 9. So if you want to make sure you don't miss any of that or any of the other future content, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click that notification bell so you get notifications when new videos come out. And if you made it this far in the video, please do give it a thumbs up. It just helps me out and helps me know that I'm doing a good job and all that. So yeah, appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you with the next one. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.